Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Today we've got a pretty unique build. We're going to be doing two cars at once. What we have today is a pair of Ford Torino stalkers. Now obviously here one is red and one is yellow. These cars have already been taken apart, and I got sent these by a friend who says, "Hey Paul, do you think you can really make these look nice or flashy?" And I says, well, sure, I'll definitely give it a try. So again, we're going to do two cars at once. But the really cool part about this is we're going to stray away from the opaque enamel that's on there now, and we're going to go with a Spectre Flame paint. So one of these cars we're going to paint Spectre Flame red, and the other we're going to spray paint or airbrush paint Spectre Flame yellow. This is going to be a pretty wild build. So go ahead and grab your adult beverage and join along, and let's get it on with today's Ford Torino Stalker Restomod. Let's get started. Here we've got the two cars, and like I said, they've already been drilled apart. The parts in there are identical. Now the bodies aren't in too bad a shape, but we definitely got to strip down the old paint. This one here is a little bit rough. You can see some really good gouges in the roof. Those come into play a little bit later. Here we're going to strip these down and we're going to repaint them silver. That's looking pretty good. We're definitely going to get rid of those tires and we're going to replace those with some red lines. Now here, the windshield and the interior, the windshield definitely has to be cleaned up and polished. Same thing with this one. The interiors just have to be scrubbed down with some soapy water and a toothbrush. Let's go ahead and continue. Here we're going to dip these in the embalming fluid. Figure out where I'm going to hold on to this thing at. The posts on these things are a little bit different. There we go. Make sure that the inside and outside is coated since we're going to be doing technically a color change. Let a lot of that excess run off and then put it on your tray. Figure out how to flip that thing over. There we go. Same thing here with the yellow one. Give it a good dip. Make sure everything's coated. Let that excess leach off. Put it on a tray, and we'll let it set for as long as it takes. Now we got these out of the embalming fluid and we got the paint off. We're going to go ahead and polish these things up with the flitz. Now before I put the flitz on there, we got it sanded down. We got it to some steel wool on it and took out a lot of the imperfections as much as we could anyway. Now the flitz here, we're trying to get this all nice and shiny since we're looking at putting a Spectre Flame paint job on there. Take your time with it. Don't run your Dremel at full speed, and only put a little bit of the flitz because a little goes a long way. Hey, did you know that you can also use flitz for plastic? So if you got your windshield or whatever, you can use the flitz to polish up your plastic windshield too, which technically saves you money because you only need one product. Now don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell to be alerted to any future videos that come out. Let's speed this up just a little bit. We do this, of course, with both bodies, and then we'll clean it up with some degreaser and we'll continue on with the painting. The first Torino, once we blow the dust off, that little something on there that I don't like, we'll have to wipe that down. We're going to spray paint with the Spectre Flame yellow. Now, the thing with the light colors, especially with the Spectre Flame paints, your yellow, your antifreeze, your hot pink, etc., the problem is that it goes on so thin and it's so light that if you don't watch what you're doing, you can easily spray too much on there. And what I mean by that is by the time you start to see the color, you've got a really good thick coat of paint on there, so you got to be careful. So take your time and look and make sure. You only want to put several mist coats on initially here. You don't want to build it up too fast because, again, like I said, it will run. So take your time, put on some mist coats, let it dry about 10 or 15 minutes in between coats, and then put on another mist coat. Do that about 4 or 5 times, and then you can put your saturation coats on. This is looking good. Well, while this one sits, I've got another airbrush ready to go with some Spectre Flame Red. Blow the dust off. Now make sure you get all the hard to reach places first, up in the fender wells, up inside the body, etc. And then put your tack coats on. Later on in the very near future, I'm going to have a video on how to mix these paints. So if you're having a problem with your paints and they're either too thick or too thin or whatever like that, I'm going to show you how to mix them the way that John from the Redline shop says you should mix these paints. But we're also going to go into other paints too. We're going to go into the Createx line. We're going to go into the Chroma Air line from Spray Gunner. And we're going to go over a bunch of paints, how to mix them, and how to get them ready to go. I know I say this repeatedly, but I can't stress enough the fact here that if you go with the very light coats of paint and build them up gradually, folks, you're going to get a fantastic paint job. And not only does the Spectre Flame work on these old red lines, it also works great on mainline cars. So if you want to start customizing, grab you some mainline cars from the bargain bin there at Walmart, or the dump bin, I guess they call it. Places at Target and Dollar Store, etc. Pick you up some main lines, strip them down, and practice your painting. So by the time you do get to the point where you want to do your red lines, you will be ready to go. And you can do this. I know you can. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. I read every single post, I promise you. Let's let this dry and we'll move on. We let it set for approximately 24 hours. Here we're going to put on the decals on this yellow Torino stalker. Got these decals from Second Chance Red Lines. Vince makes a fantastic product, especially with the reproduction decals for these older Hot Wheels. So check out Second Chance Red Lines. They've got some great decals there. They've also got a lot of aftermarket decals for your gassers, your pickup trucks, your JDM cars, etc. So check out Second Chance Red Lines. Take your time, center them the way you want to, and squeegee out the excess water. That's looking really sweet. Let's get to the next car. Here's the red Torino. Now, a good practice to get into, notice how I cut out the wheel wells, all right? Sometimes that's not very conducive to what you're doing. A lot of times it's better, folks, to leave that clear plastic over the wheel well and then pull it out later. And what I mean by that is once you get it in place and after it sets overnight and dries, you can come back in with a razor knife and you can trim that out and then take you some microsol or microset and rub it around the wheel wells to tuck it back up underneath. All right, I'll explain that better in a future video. But sometimes if you cut out those wheel wells, it's a pain right in the bottom, and you definitely don't want to have that problem. It definitely works better if you leave the plastic in place. Here's the base, both bases. What we're going to do is we're going to take some sprue cutters and cut out these clips that hold these old black wall wheels in place. If you don't have any sprue cutters, get you some because they're definitely worth their weight in gold. You can get these at Harbor Freight, which are incredibly cheap. I bought a couple of pairs, and you can get other ones at like hobby stores like Micromark. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. You can get them at Michael's, etc., etc. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the wheels off this bad boy and trim this down, get these old wheels off, and then we're going to soak it in super clean to get the old chrome off. That's looking pretty good. That little stopper there, basically what that was for was to keep the interior from sliding forward. Let's get it into super clean. Now folks, if you're trying to remove chrome or anything shiny like that off your plastic, super clean is what you need. It takes it off within an hour mostly. But if you let it soak, it'll be completely gone, I promise. Here it is later on. We cleaned it up, we scrubbed it down. Now we're going to spray it with Spectre Flame Silver. This also I got from the Redline shop. I got these taped down to this cardboard box. Put a nice light coat on, let it set for a few minutes, and then put some more saturation coats on there, and they'll turn out fantastic. I went ahead and made up some axles and some bearings. Now the bearings I got from Grizz at Bearcat 3D Designs, and the axle material, I used some K&S material right here, number 5499. This is piano wire, .020 music wire. And this is what I use to make my axles. There's some bearings I got from Grizz. Talk to Grizz at Bearcat 3D Designs and you can get some bearings yourself. Now, if you're going to take these bearings and expect to put them on and use these cars as race cars, folks, that's not what these are for. You're not going to get race cars out of these things. All they are is for you to repair or make bearings and axles so you can put some Redline wheels on your car. You're not going to be able to really use these for racing, okay? Just to make that clear. And here we've got both of our cars. Here's the yellow Torino. Now, like I said, notice the little gouges in the top of the hood. I would have had to take away an awful lot of metal to get those things out of there. Now, I could have sanded it down and filled it with something and painted it silver, but I didn't want to go that route. Here's the red one. Man, this turned out really sweet. I'm very happy with this car. That's excellent. Here's the base. Wheels roll. Like I said, these bearings are for you to put wheels on cars and do repairs. They're not for racing. So if you're getting these things, hopefully you're going to try and, make faster than ever wheels and like that. That's not what these are for, folks. Windshields turned out great. The interiors turned out great. Let's put it all together and have our reveal. And here's what we started with. These Ford Torino Stalkers with enamel opaque paint. They had already been taken apart at one time, but we went in, we stripped them down, we polished them up, we put beautiful Spectre Flame paint on both the cars. We got the decals from Vince at Second Chance Redlines. We got brand new bearings from Grizz at Bearcat 3D Designs, and I'll have some contact information at the end of the video. We got brand new Redline tires from John at the Redline shop. The Spectre Flame paint came from the Redline shop. We used a Molotow chrome pen to chrome in the bumpers and the lights, but we used Spectre Flame paint to paint the bottoms silver. But then we put it all together, and man, the results speak for themselves here. And here are the results. Look at how beautiful these cars turned out. You know, folks, the reason that Hot Wheels stopped using the Spectre Flame paint was cost. When they first started out, they sold like gangbusters. And then as a few years went by, the sales dropped off. So Hot Wheels says, hey, look, how can we keep making cars? So they got into all kinds of cost-cutting saves, like changing the paint and changing the tires and everything else. And in my opinion, they should have stayed with the Spectre Flame paints. But anyway, we took the car apart, we polished it, we painted it with the Spectre Flame paints, we replaced the wheels, the bearings, we redid everything, put brand new decals on it, and when we were done, we clear coated over everything. Now you folks can do this too. If you got questions, leave them in the comments. This video is brought to you by the Redline Shop. The Redline Shop offers a complete line of products for your die-cast restoration needs, such as hoods for your car, glass tops for your car, those beautiful Redline tires, and of course the world-famous Spectre Flame paints. What a great product. The Redline Shop at www.redlineshop.com, where Redlines come to life. And don't forget about the great products of Flitz. If you go to their website at www.flitz.com, for those folks watching Diecast Graveyard videos, the folks at Flitz have got a special offer for you. If you go to their website, any product online, Flitz will offer you 20% off any product off their website. At the end of the transaction, type in the code GRAVEYARD. Now this deal is for anyone who watches Diecast Graveyard's videos, but you have to go to the Flitz website in order to get this special deal. Thank you to the great folks at Flitz. I got a letter from a young man the other day. Hot Rod Josh's Garage. Now this young man sent me a letter and a really cool card and everything else, and it was kind of got me right in the feelers, you know what I'm saying? So check out Josh's page. He goes over his collection, things he finds in the store as far as die-cast and the like, and he also goes over some of the racing brackets that he's in. So check out Josh's page and let's see some die-cast love, and subscribe to Josh's page. And I'll leave a link in the comments besides what's on the screen. Thank you for joining me today in Diecast Graveyard. I had a great time restoring these Torino stalkers. My friend Les, these are on their way to you, buddy. Thank you so much. You know, like I said, you can do this too. I read all the comments. Please contact me. My name is Paul with Diecast Graveyard. Cheers.